So after my tilty game one, I step away for a sec and try to put my head on straight. Um, During sideboarding, I make the usual cut of cultivate for call to mind, simply to rebuy my removal to rebuy my Doomblade against Sarah. And I also cut cancel for diminish. Um, Looking back, I really don't like this sideboard. I really don't like that cutting cancel there. Um, it's just one of my few answers in this deck, and I cut it for diminish. I figure the reason I did it at the time was because I was expecting this game to go sort of fast. We both he has a white blue deck that looks like it has a fairly okay curve. So I was probably expecting that cancel was not super great because he'd just be curving out, and it would be uh, difficult for me to really disrupt his curve. And plus, diminish would let me, kill his Sarah in combat. So that was my sideboard. Over to the match, I of course get to play first, which I do. I keep this opening hand. It's not particularly aggressive, but I have my Doomblade, I have my Swamp, and I'll have a threat eventually. So I keep. I figure I can't ask for much more in a hand. Um, first three turns are kind of boring. I drop Sylvan Ranger, find a forest. He does nothing on his turn other than play a plains. I draw a Giant Spider, play a land, and swing in. He drops an island and says go. So this turn I swing in, I play an island, and I pass turn. Giant Spider is such an incredibly strong card against a white-blue flyer deck. So I don't want to. And I know I've seen Mana Leak last game, so I'm in my mind playing around Mana Leak that he may or may not have. Perhaps he just kept a hand with 4-drops, as I certainly didn't show him anything resembling a competent offense last game. I could probably justify keeping a handful of 4-drops in that case. But in any case, I hold back the Giant Spider simply so that it doesn't get countered right away. He untaps and plays Azure Drake, which taps him out and lets me play Giant Spider. During his turn, he Ice Cages the Spider and gets in with the Drake. So going into my turn, I draw the Ice Cage. I figure that, I don't know, Azure Drake's not that exciting of a threat, so it's not worth burning the Ice Cage on. So I instead decide to adept my Giant Spider. So I swing in first, drop the land, and adept my Spider, intending to replay it next turn, and have my great flyer blocker back. He swings in, and then he drops Cloud Crusader, which would make my Giant Spider all the better. Well, all the more necessary, more like. So instead of untapping and playing a land first, I undo my earlier good play of playing around Mana Leak by playing my Giant Spider into Mana Leak. Yeah, just why oh why didn't I play that land? I still probably was just not paying attention as much as I needed to. So I clearly need to pay more attention to these games because I just make terrible mistakes. So I commit the terrible play of, playing Spider into Mana Leak when I have the land in my hand. I then Ice Cage his Cloud Crusader, as I don't want to be taking 4 in the air every turn, especially as I have no no flying blockers in my hand, and then I attempt to save face with my opponent by not playing my island. Um, that's just me being embarrassed again. I really should have just played this island. So that does let me swing in for 3. His turn, he beats for 2. Plays an owl. Bottoms one of them and puts the other 2 on top. And ends his turn. So I draw a Juggernaut, which is pretty fantastic here, as that allows me to play around the second mana leak that I don't even know if he has. But first I swing in. He trades Owl for a Ranger, which I don't know if I'd make that trade. I mean, he's not super low on life, and having another flyer to, increase the clock on his end seems better. So I play the land and play Juggernaut, leaving mana open for Doomblade. He plays Blinding Mage, which is pretty good against me here. I was saving that Doomblade for Sarah's inevitable return, but Blinding Mage is certainly a target that merits a Doomblade, especially as it can knock off my Ice Cage and also shut down my Juggernaut. So he swings in with Azure Drake. I do not Doomblade his Blinding Mage, just sort of to, again, avoid playing it into counter magic. He still has 1 card in hand, so it could be a counter spell, and if I lose the Doomblade to counter magic, and the Blinding Mage stays on the board, it just is terrible for me. So I draw a forest, swing in with my guys, and he has Doomblade for my Juggernaut, which prompts me to Doomblade his Blinding Mage after he declines to block with it. I then play Yavimaya Worm, as he has no cards in hand at this point, so I know I'm in the clear. He rips Pacifism, which is fine because I still have Spined Worm in hand. It just slows me down a little bit. I'm still winning the race, so he leaves back Azure Drake to block my Aether Adept. Again, because he has no cards in hand, I know I'm free to cast anything. I draw Harbor Serpent, which is fantastic here, as it gives me a 2-turn clock on him that, unless he finds a removal spell, he has no way to deal with. So I drop Harbor Serpent because it's just better here. And I leave up mana representing a Doomblade or something, I don't know. He plays Siege Mastodon, which is like whatever. It's not even important. He swings in with Azure Drake as he now has a blocker for my Aether Adept. I draw Augury Owl, beat with Harbor Serpent, and decline to cast anything because I figure why show him cards that I don't need to show him. He needs to draw something fantastic off the top of his deck. So, and that's his only out. So I figure why bother playing another card? And he draws nothing, obviously, so he concedes. So that was a fairly decent game, all in all, for me. Only made a couple of errors. Obviously not playing that land, allowing my giant spider to be mana leaked was pretty terrible, although it did get the mana leak out of his hand and allowed me to, get other things on the board that I needed to. Still, it was just suboptimal play. Trying to think if I commented on anything else that I did wrong this game. I think I was aggressive enough. There were no real other times where I didn't swing that I should have swung. So I think this game was not too bad for me. So on to game three.